Everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Devin. I'm a helicopter air ambulance pilot, but in today's video we are going to be watching this R44 engine failure auto rotation crash. If you haven't seen this yet, this is crazy. I don't know how this came across my feed. It wasn't really talked about. This one didn't really blow up. Some engine failures or accidents like really blow up and you see them quite clearly. This one I just stumbled upon. This is a crazy video. This was uploaded 2 weeks ago. Here, I'll share with my screen right now and then we'll get into it. But this was uploaded 2 weeks ago. Title: New R44 tail chopped off when engine actually failed during practice auto, Josh Perry. So I am a helicopter CFI. I don't work as a helicopter CFI anymore, but I have over 1,000 hours as a CFI. So I've done this job a lot. I was always prepared for this, but thank God it never happened to me. This is a crazy, terrifying moment if you're doing a practice auto rotation and your engine actually fails, especially in a brand new helicopter, you're not expecting it. So we are going to go through this video. We're going to break it down. I'll give you my thoughts. I want to know your thoughts down in the comments below. And with that being said, let's get into it. All right, so we'll jump over here. Thank you, Josh Perry. 2 weeks ago, let's just watch it first, and then we'll read the description, and then we'll talk about it. Crazy video. Here we go. And I'll turn the sound up. I'm just gonna let it play through once first, just so that you can watch it, and then we'll break it down over time. So if I can bump up the quality at all.
Clear left, forward, right. You always want to practice doing autos. So you want. Alright, during auto, 3, 2, 1. So down, right, aft. And we're getting ready to catch the charge. And lower that real quick. We're keeping the airspeed up. We got to raise the collective, keep it in the green. There we go. We're going to lower it. Get the horn, we're going to go lower that. Alright, we're going to recover. For some reason, all the lights are coming on. Alright, we're... The governor on? Yes. We're doing an actual auto. Okay. Alright, take the controls. I have the controls.
Caution, terrain, warning, terrain, warning, terrain,
Come in here. Keeping our airspeed up.
warning, terrain, warning, terrain, warning, warning,
What if? Alright, so that is obviously insane. A proper engine failure during an auto rotation. First off, I want to say, before we get into the debrief and the comments about this, they had an actual engine failure and they survived and they walked away from it. This is best case scenario. We can nitpick and we can like talk and say whatever we want afterwards, but the fact that they survived this is key. The fact that they survived this is the most important thing. They walked away from this. Well, I don't know. I mean, the guy uploaded it. We'll read the description, but they survived this, and it was a pretty good auto rotation. And this is the most important thing. If you click off the video after this, I don't care, but I want everyone to hear this. This is what I taught. This is what I told myself, and this is what I taught my students, because it is entirely true, in my opinion. If you have an engine failure and you were able to get the collective down and you were able to glide down to the surface, whatever happens at the bottom happens. You know, we all want to do like a smooth flare, level the helicopter, and then just set it down. And you want people to come up and be like, you had an engine failure, the helicopter's perfect. You want it to look that way. But that is not what I expected of my students. If they were on a cross country and something happened, what I wanted them to do was get the collective down and be able to glide to a spot. And then, you know, the last 10, 20, 30 feet, hopefully the crash resistant seats and hopefully the way you actually get the helicopter down, hopefully you can survive it. But the most important thing is just not losing control while you're hundreds or thousands of feet up. The most important thing is if you can get to within 30 feet, whatever happens, happens. You know, if you roll, if you flip, maybe you'll still die, but you have a much better chance. So control the glide, control the glide, control the glide. We can always work on the touchdown and the flare, but most importantly, just get down to like 20 or 30 feet. That gives you a much better chance than if you're 2,000 or 3,000 feet. So if we jump in here real quick, Josh Perry uploaded 2 weeks ago. Let's just read through this real quick. Yeah, you can see that. I'll just zoom so it's not in my face. I was the student in this training flight where we were going to start practicing autorotations. This was the first ever demonstration that my instructor was about to give me in the experience of practicing autorotations at altitude with a power recovery. Insurance actually doesn't allow for full down autos in training. We'll come back to that. Shortly after entering the practice autorotation by bringing the throttle down below the governor handoff RPM, the engine quit. When my instructor saw the alternator warning light come on, he decided to immediately do a power recovery, only to find no response of the throttle. This was a brand new, approximately 100-hour fuel-injected Robinson R44 Raven II with AC and the inbuilt cockpit camera with audio. In my estimation, there was little we could have done differently in the time we had, and that if we had sat down on a hard surface, then the helicopter would have been mostly, if not completely, undamaged. Unfortunately, the field had furrows, and so there was zero margin for forward airspeed, which when autoing in such a low inertia rotor system is extremely difficult. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but we'll continue. In my mind, one contributing factor is that the full down autorotations are just not permitted to be practiced often enough because of the risk. If you don't do something when the variables are controlled, you can't expect to nail it with the high probability in a moment when you aren't in control of them. It makes me wonder if insurance companies have lost less holes as a result of limiting practice than they have in an imperfect autos done in actual emergency situations. When we touched down, the skid stuck in the dirt, the body rocked forward and brought the tail boom into the plane of the main rotor, which ultimately chopped it off. The separated tail sections flew upwards and then back into the still spinning main rotor, which launched it a few tens of meters ahead of us. Unfortunately, the cockpit camera is not intended to be used as a black box, so the end of the video was corrupted when the power was cut out. I was able to recover all but the last few seconds, though with forensic tools maybe more could be salvaged. The touchdown itself was caught externally by the security camera of a nearby home. I've waffled about posting this. Obviously my instructor would rather it wasn't on the internet, but I've gained so much knowledge from the analysis of accidents that I really feel the benefits outweigh the potential negatives. I hope that if you watch this, you will view it from the perspective of the blameless culture that we should have and do in many places in aviation that allows us to become better tomorrow than we were today. I completely agree, 100% agreement with this author here and the student pilot in this situation. 100%. We all learn so much from incidents and accidents. I mean, yes, it's embarrassing and it sucks and we all think and hope that we do better, but learning is the most important thing. It's absolutely critical. So I agree. Thank you for uploading this video. All right, so let's break this down from the start. I'm going to just play through this and I'm going to break it down as we talk. So they enter the auto rotation. One thing, let's take a note of a couple things. Engine and rotor tack are fine. Manifold pressure looks like to be about 19 inches. And then their altitude, they are high. 4, 5, 6, maybe 7,000 feet. They're high up here. 7,090 feet. You can see here in the corner. So 7,000 to start. I wonder what the field elevation is where they are.
Left, forward, right. You always want to practice doing autos. So you want. All right.
100%. Did you hear what the instructor said? You always want to practice auto rotations where you have somewhere to land. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. For this exact reason. You always want to know, okay, like if this actually happens, where am I going? So you know, 100%. Yes.
3, 2, 1. So down, right, now.
Down,
we're going to catch the charge.
Okay. The pilot here, the student pilot, and in the comment, he said a low inertia rotor system. The R44 is actually not a low inertia rotor system. It is a pretty heavy rotor system. The R44 autos quite well. Maybe other helicopters auto better, but like the R44 is actually a pretty good autoing aircraft. I flew a 407 and I'd say the R44 autos better. That's because it's got a heavier, higher inertia rotor system. The benefit of like a multi-bladed articulated rotor system like the 407 is it's fast and nimble and it can fly fast and it grips, but there's not a ton of weight and it's just such a light disc that it doesn't hold a ton of inertia, so you kind of drop more vertically versus a 44, which you kind of don't drop as vertically. So I actually think the R44 has a good inertia rotor system. And you can see that the RPMs didn't really fluctuate that much, and they're at 7,000 feet.
Lower that real quick.
So.
You want
Here we
practice
go.
doing auto?
I'm pretty sure this one here is engine oil PSI. Engine oil pressure. So you're going to see engine tach fall away, and then watch manifold pressure, that's an indication, and then watch engine oil pressure.
Turn auto in 3, 2, 1. So down, right, aft. We're getting ready to test the charge.
Engine tach all the way to 0. Engine, like, falls to the bottom, nothing. Engine oil pressure all the way to nothing. Manifold pressure, super high. Your engine is off and your manifold pressure is high. Something's off. Something's off. Your manifold pressure should not be working hard because you don't have an engine on. Your engine tach is at the bottom and you don't have engine oil pressure.
Lower that real quick.
But I get it because the instructor's not really, he's looking at his RPM. As an instructor, the biggest thing you're worried about is overspeed. You don't want to overspeed your helicopter. You don't want to be the instructor that has an overspeed. So you're constantly just looking at RPMs, and RPMs are life. So that's the number one thing you're concerned about. You should do your scan, and eventually I think he comes to it, but and also you're not expecting your engine to quit. You got to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's not expecting this. Of course, I did hundreds or thousands of auto rotations. My engine never quit, so I wouldn't expect it. Even though you know it can happen, you're not like expecting it.
We're keeping our airspeed up. We got raise the collective, keep it in the green. There we go. We're going to lower it. Get the horn. We're going to go lower it. We're going to recover. For some reason, the
Alternator light not coming on. Pretty immediate giveaway that you got problems. The alternator should continue to make power.
Alright, we're... The governor on? Yes.
Sure, you're trying to run through everything. In this moment, you're like, okay, what's going on? Like, you know, in his head, he's quiet and he's thinking, he's going through everything, every possible scenario. Of course you're going to check the governor. I mean, maybe it's as simple as that. You have other indications that clearly something is wrong, but you're going to check the governor, of course. There's a governor on. He's obviously, he thinks he has an engine failure. He's just trying to evaluate every other solution.
We're doing an actual auto.
We're doing an actual auto.
Take the controls. I have the controls.
He takes the controls. How convenient. Big open field. Perfect. Really good thinking. Big open field.
Caution, terrain.
So, yeah, fuel, temperatures are going to stay high. This has got to be engine oil pressure. It's the only one that makes sense. So, yeah, that's engine oil pressure. Engine tach bottomed. Manifold pressure high. Makes no sense. Rotor tach. I mean, this is like ambient air pressure.
Rain. Warning. Terrain. Warning. Terrain.
Big field. No mayday call, he didn't make that, but that's okay. I mean, the big aviate, navigate, find where you're going, and then communicate. That's the last case, so not a big deal.
Warning. Terrain.
So airspeed, I mean, it did drop off. I mean, I think this is 80, 70, 60. More airspeed is better. You have 3 buckets of inertia. You have airspeed, rotor, RPM, and altitude, so he's losing his altitude right now.
Warning. Terrain.
Starts his flare.
Warning. Terrain. Warning.
Levels the helicopter. And then pulls. So let's come back down here. Okay, can we say the obvious thing? But it's not a critique of the pilot. It's not a critique of the instructor. He flared too high, but maybe I don't know where this school is. I don't know what this instructor's background is. Maybe he wasn't like that comfortable and he just flared too high, and maybe he hadn't done a ton of full down auto rotation. Prior to like so I worked 2 CFI jobs. I got out of flight school. I worked as a CFI up until about 500 hours. Almost no full down experiences. Like I could count like on one hand the number of full down experiences. And then I jumped into the Cabri G2, and there I did lots of full down auto rotations. It was only until that point where I was authorized and allowed to do full down auto rotations that I actually got good at full down auto rotations. If you go your entire career like in flight school and then work as an instructor and you only do a handful of full down auto rotations, you're not that good at them, because you get really good at the entry, the glide, the flare, but you don't get good at the touchdown point. So actually judging like when to start that flare and when to level the helicopter is extremely hard. Like, yes, we can all do it, and he did a fine job, but you're not that experienced at it. So yes, we can say the obvious point, he flared too high. If he had flared lower, it would have been better, but he did fine. He did good. I wish he had a radar altimeter, because that would make this real easy, but
Warning, terrain.
pulls off the airspeed, which is what you're supposed to do in the
Terrain.
flare. You're using that energy bucket. And look, he lets his RPM get really high. Perfect. If you can see that there, I don't know if you can't see it, but the rotor tack is like peaked out. At this moment, if my engine actually fails, I want my rotor tack to be top in the ceiling. I want it as high as it can, because let's talk about your energy buckets. When you have an engine failure, the first energy bucket you have is altitude. So you're going to use that altitude bucket all the way until you get to the flare. The second energy bucket you have is airspeed. So then you're using that flare to slow the helicopter down. That's your second energy bucket. The last energy bucket you have is your rotor RPM and your rotor inertia. Once I get through the glide and the flare, personally, I want my rotor RPM pegged out, because I'm not really that concerned about an overspeed. You have to get that rotor RPM going extremely fast to actually cause damage, so you can get that thing like pegged out. And this is my last energy bucket, so I'm gonna flare the helicopter and then level the helicopter when I no longer have airspeed. So I'm gonna flare to basically 0 and then level the helicopter, allow the helicopter to settle, and then at the last moment then cushion. He does most of this, but it's not the most clean, but he did a great job.
Warning.
So let's just back this up a little bit. So he comes down, flares high, so he still has altitude potential there that he kind of
Warning,
wastes.
terrain.
Not a fault, but he does waste it.
Terrain.
Flare, and then you can see him bleed off that airspeed. And he still has plenty of airspeed. I mean, he gets almost to the apex.
Warning.
And then levels the helicopter. You can see on the artificial horizon, he gets it to a flat, which is key. This is so key. If you get that helicopter flat, I mean, they're not that high off the ground. I mean, you can see the grass right here. You can see lines in the grass. He gets the helicopter flat. So if you can come down and smush those skids are designed to absorb a crash impact. So if you get those skids flat, and then you can still use a little bit of collective, and you have the crash resistant seats, getting the skids flat is another huge key. He did this like better, like I would give this like an A for like real life emergency. I'd give this an A. I mean, get those skids flat, use most of your energy perfect. And actually, let's come to this picture. So like right before they're about to cushion, no airspeed, perfect, RPM in the green, skids flat. I don't know which more. I mean, you can always make it better. Yeah, you could have done it a little bit better, but he did a great job. You can see how slow those blades are spinning right at the end. And the fact that the helicopter is still flying with the RPMs that low is great. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Comes down. Skids are mostly flat. Drops through. Cushion a little bit. Rocks it a little bit. Not that bad, but comes down mostly flat. Crash resistant skids, or crash absorbing skids, crash absorbing seats, absorbing those G-forces. Kicks the tail boom out. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I really don't think I have that much to add to it. I would like to just mention real quick that is kind of crazy to lose an engine, have a proper engine failure after approximately 100 hours of a new helicopter. Like, that should not happen. But And in all honesty, the student pilot did a great job. They both stayed extremely calm. The instructor did a great job. Shout out to the instructor. Shout out to the student pilot. You guys did a phenomenal job. This is always something that we train for. This is something that we know can happen. Am I expecting it? No, never. But, well, that's not true. Am I expecting it to happen during an auto rotation? No, I'm not expecting it to happen. But do I know it can happen? Yes. Am I prepared for it? Yes. But, like, if it actually does happen, it's like, whoa. But the instructor immediately, he's a good helicopter pilot. He's a really good helicopter pilot. He immediately made the transition, set himself up. This was great. This was an incredibly valuable video to watch. Any student out there, this is what you're looking for. This is a proper instructor. He did the proper moves. He's a good helicopter pilot. The student pilot did a great job. They worked together as a team. I really don't have much to say. These things happen. They're not supposed to. It's unfortunate, but overall, I think they did a great job. So with that being said, if you found yourself enjoying this video at any point, smash the like button, subscribe for all kinds of helicopter content, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.